The Power series finale is nearly here, but fans will be saddened to know they have to wait a little bit longer to see how the show ends. Yep, the finale episode has been delayed due to a little thing called the Super Bowl. So when will the show be returning? Due to the Super Bowl 54 aka the biggest sporting event in the American calendar taking place on Sunday, January 2nd, the show has been pushed back by a week. This means Season 6 Episode 15 will be airing on Sunday, February 9, 2020. It will be shown on Starz TV at 9 p.m., but subscribers to the Starz app will be able to watch it from midnight on Sunday ahead of the broadcast. While fans in the UK will have to wait for the episode to drop on Netflix on Monday, February 10, 2020, at the usual time of 8 a.m. Sadly, this will be the very last episode of Power. The episode synopsis reads: when Ghost is announced as Lieutenant Governor, it gives him a solid win and one step closer to a fully legitimate world. He soon discovers one of his many enemies, actively carrying out a plan that changes his life forever. In the teaser trailer, clips of all the big character Ghost has betrayed appear on the screen before the words, "Watch the final betrayal," appear on the screen. Then we see Ghost looking into the mirror and staring at his bloodstained vest. As the promo ends, a voice says, "When we met, who did you think I was going to be?" The sound of a safety catch coming off on a gun is heard before a bullet is fired, and the screen goes blank. Some fans believe they already know the ending after the episode reportedly leaked online. There is a spin-off show in the works titled Power Book 2, Ghost. R&B legend Mary J. Blige is one of the main stars in the new series and has already been pictured on set as they film the first scenes. Mary shared the news with a crowd at the Television Critics Association, saying, "This is probably going to be the most exciting thing that will happen to me this year. I've known so many Tashas, I've known so many ghosts. I've dated so many ghosts, I'm a huge fan for life, and I'm so grateful to be a part of it." Starz and Netflix have not yet revealed the release date for Power Book 2, Ghost. Spray planes combat the huge locust outbreak in East Africa as locusts by the billions, yes, billions descend on parts of Kenya in the worst outbreak in 70 years. Small planes are flying low over affected areas to spray pesticides in what experts call the only effective control. It is challenging work, especially in remote areas where mobile phone signals are absent and ground crews cannot quickly communicate coordinates to flight teams. The ground crews are in the most woeful terrains. Marcus Dunn, a pilot and the director at Farmland Aviation, said Saturday. If there is no network, then the fellow on a boda motorcycle, he has to rush off now and go and get a network. Just 5 planes are currently spraying as Kenyan and other authorities try to stop the locusts from spreading to neighboring Uganda and South Sudan. The United Nations has said $76 million is needed immediately to widen such efforts across East Africa. A fast response is crucial. Experts warn that if left unchecked, the number of locusts could grow by 500 times by June, when drier weather will help bring the outbreak under control. The finger-length locust swept into Kenya from Somalia and Ethiopia after unusually heavy rains in recent months, decimating crops in some areas and threatening millions of vulnerable people with a hunger crisis. Somalia's agriculture ministry on Sunday called the outbreak a national emergency and major threat to the country's fragile food security, saying the uncommonly large locust swarms are consuming huge amounts of crops. In swarms the size of major cities, the locusts also have affected parts of Sudan, Djibouti and Eritrea, whose agriculture ministry says both the military and general public have been deployed to combat them. Kenya's agriculture minister has acknowledged that authorities weren't prepared for the scope of the infestation this year. That's not surprising, considering it's been decades since the country's last comparable outbreak, UN officials say. The locusts also are heading toward the breadbasket of Ethiopia, Africa's second most populous country, in that nation's worst outbreak in 25 years. On Thursday, startled residents of Ethiopia's capital, Addis Ababa, started reported sightings of the insects. "I was surprised to find the locusts inside my living room," said one resident, Matthews Gurma, showing a photo on his mobile phone. "It appears it is knocking on each and every one of our doors." Zabduos Salato, an agriculture ministry official, told the Associated Press the relatively few locusts reaching Ethiopia's capital are leftovers from the massive invasion in the eastern and southern parts of the country. Spraying is being conducted around the city to stop the outbreak from spreading elsewhere, he said. Until the drier weather in June, more rain across the region will bring fresh vegetation to fuel further waves of locust breeding. One field in Kenya on Saturday appeared to be full of mating bright yellow locusts. "They are trying to mate and reproduce, so we need more help, and because we are racing against time," said Salat Tutana, the chief agriculture officer in Isiolo County. So far we have decimated around 5 swarms in Samburu and Isiolo counties, but we keep on receiving more swarms every week, and that is a lot in terms of the ecosystem, he said. They are destroying the environment. Within hours, the locusts can strip a pasture of much of its vegetation. That's a very sad situation, especially for the pastoralists whose livelihoods rely on their cattle, Tutana said. Just hours after the spraying, the normally bouncing locusts were dozy, slow and dying. They lay scattered on the ground, crunching underfoot. The 5 planes currently operating are capable of looking over this part of Kenya, Dunn said, but if there's an increase in locusts in other parts of the country, we are going to need some more assistance because we just don't know how big this problem is going to be. Australian wildfires fan argument over impact of arsonists. What's to blame for scores of wildfires devastating Australia's southeast? There's an increasingly bitter face-off between those who say arson and those who fault climate change. Each side has powerful backers, and their weapons of choice are often fabrications and part-truths that have spread in time with the fires in recent weeks. Humans burning fossil fuels and humans with criminal intent who torch a combustible landscape both factor into this unprecedented crisis. But just how to accurately apportion the blame has become a big political issue. The debate is made hotter by many, including some Australian lawmakers who argue against deeper cuts to carbon gas emissions. Firefighters blame lightning strikes for most of the major blazes in New South Wales and Victoria states, and many scientists say climate change is the main reason for fires that have claimed at least 33 lives since September, destroyed more than 3,000 homes, and razed more than 10.6 million hectares, 26.2 million acres. Still, the arson site often cites repeatedly on social media a debunked statistic that says more than 180 suspected arsonists have been arrested. Truly disgusting that people would do this. God bless Australia. President Donald Trump's son Donald Trump Jr. tweeted. More than 180 alleged arsonists have been arrested since the start of the bushfire season, he added. Although it's been discredited by OpFactCheck, the fact-checking division of news agency Australian Associated Press, the statistic has been repeated thousands of times online. AP FactCheck, a partner in Facebook's third-party fact-checking program, looking at misinformation on Facebook and Instagram, links the statistic to a statement by police in New South Wales, the worst fire-affected state, that said legal action had been taken against 183 people since November for bushfire-related offences. These included only 24 people charged over deliberately lit bushfires. Legal action, which includes cautions, had also been taken against another 100 people for conduct that could be described as being careless during a fire ban. The statement did not detail the offences alleged against the remaining 59 suspects. Climate change is the main reason for the current extraordinarily destructive fire season, according to Janet Stanley, a director of Australia's National Centre for Research in Bushfire and Arson. In the past, there's been little interest generally in why people light fires, whether it's purposefully or accidentally or maliciously or recklessly, because climate change hadn't kicked in, and it really wasn't such a problem because fire could fairly easily be put out, said Stanley, who has studied arson-related wildfires for 3 decades. But because of climate change, this is not the case now. The conditions that make a fire very big and dangerous and spread quickly are now a great deal worse, so it's much harder to put out the fire once it occurs than it was in the past, she added. Arson has long been part of Australia's wildfire seasons, but it's hard to estimate how big a problem it is because crime scenes are often remote and evidence is frequently destroyed. The New South Wales Bureau of Crime Statistics and the Victorian Crime Statistics Agency won't release their arson data for the current wildfire season in the 2 worst affected states until March. Swinburne University of Technology arson expert Troy McEwen cautioned that 3 fires that killed 42 people in Victoria during a wildfire emergency in 2009 had initially been wrongly blamed on arson. Certainly a significant proportion of bushfires are deliberately lit in Australia, she told Australian Broadcasting Corporation. We need to be open to the idea that it could be caused by arson, but equally, it's not helpful to say these fires are always caused by arson, or the majority of them are, because the reality is, it seems, that most very large fires are not caused by arson, she added. Australian Deputy Prime Minister Michael McCormack believes arsonists are the major problem. It's important to note that most of these fires have been caused by little Lucifers running around with matches and fire starters and creating havoc, McCormack told reporters, referring to child arsonists, while acknowledging that climate change was also a factor in the fire emergency. McCormack's rural-based party, the Nationals, is staunchly against any action on climate change that would carry an economic cost, such as making polluters pay for the carbon gases that they emit. Some lawmakers in Prime Minister Scott Morrison's Conservative Liberal Party publicly dispute any link between climate change and the fires. A common theme being spread by those looking to exaggerate Australia's contribution to global warming was that the fires are basically spontaneously occurring because the carbon dioxide in the air is exploding, said Craig Kelly, a Conservative lawmaker. That's nonsense. There are groups in our society that have exploited these bushfires to push their own political barrow. The climate change alarmists want to hijack the debate and use these fires as an example, Kelly added. A widely circulated online image purporting to be a NASA satellite photograph shows the wildfires, which are largely confined to southern Australia, extending across the country's tropical north coast. The creator of the image, Anthony Hearsey, explained on his website that it was a digital compilation of almost 8 months of NASA fire data and that not all the fires were still burning, but those qualifications were lost online. Singer Rihanna tweeted the dramatic image to her many followers with the comment, "Devastating Tourism Australia, a government agency tasked with promoting the country overseas, has included its own fire map on its website to counter